Hey, what's up, everybody? We got a nice interview for you. I want to introduce Ed. Been an OG in the cannabis game for a while. And how'd you get started?
Well, this is probably a common story. People from my era, late 70s, early 80s, you got a couple phone calls from your friends. And the weed guy's coming around. Everybody gathers up their money. They show up at the house, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whatever. Weed guy ain't there by 10. He calls, he says he's running late. And around 12 o'clock, everybody leaves. This happened a lot. So the first opportunity that I saw was just in selling weed, because all you have to do is be reliable. That's all, be reliable. People would sell you an ounce, it was 21 grams. Sell them a 30-gram bag. And, however, I went to college as a chemistry major. And it occurred to me, as I'm taking a plant physiology class, that you can grow any plant just about anywhere. You just have to mimic what's going on outdoors and know a little bit of basic chemistry. And so when I graduated from college in 1985, that's when I started cultivating. And I knew a guy who'd been in the business for 15 years. He got me started, almost like an apprenticeship. It's just that as I furthered my education, I got into a lot more things, and I was running a toxicology lab at one time, so I was testing my product. I wanted to put numbers to it. And then we really dove into the plant physiology and plant pathology, and coming at it from a purely academic standpoint. It wasn't that I didn't see the books that were being written by Rosenthal and Cervantes. I did. I also found a lot of errors in there, and myths, misconceptions, and so at any rate, that's how I got into it. And in 97, when Prop 215 passed in California, by the way, I'd been in pharmaceutical research, calcium channel blockers, ACE inhibitors, but I was always interested in cannabinoids, and I knew that there had to be therapeutic effects beyond glaucoma.
What year was that around that you knew this early on?
Probably in the late 80s.
Okay.
By the late 80s, especially after the drug Nabilone came on the market, and there were problems with it, but nonetheless, it was an analog of THC, and I was actually approached about doing some research with that. In fact, that research with Nabilone, it was in the 80s, and War on Drugs killed the funding for that. But nonetheless, I was just concentrating on one thing: producing a flower with the highest THC content I could get and the lowest CBD content I could get, because I knew that CBD attenuated the effects of THC. And THC interacts with the endocannabinoid system, and CBD does not. Okay? CBD does have some therapeutic effects, but we don't really even know what they are. THC, we know what they are. We know where they interact. And that means there's clues as to things these could be used for. We had a patient because it primarily started off as medical, and we had a patient with Huntington's chorea. Hey, they were going to put a feeding tube in him and put him in a hospice. He lived for another 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And yes, using a THC extract. And yes, if I wanted to get into it, I could get into the biochemistry of it and the mechanism of action by which it alleviated his symptoms. Now, it wasn't going to cure his disease, but it greatly alleviated his symptoms. He gained 30 pounds. We had him up and walking. The last thing we were trying to do was get his speech back. That didn't work out. COVID, ended up locked up in a federal facility and died a few months later. We weren't able to get his medicine to him.
Yeah. So you think with if the pandemic didn't happen, you could have even extended his life more?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We could have kept going a little bit longer. But I knew that we could, because they did have to up his dose twice, and I knew we could do that at least 2 more times. So yeah, that definitely shortened his life.
Okay, so you got into the chemistry of things, and what led you to the next steps towards moving towards today?
Well, in 1997, the authorities suggested I might feel comfortable living in another state.
That was nice of them saying that.
Yes. And as it turns out, I knew Prop 215 was going to be voted on and probably pass. And I decided that Southern California would be a nice place to go. I had friends who had lived in LA. They told me, don't go there. So it was San Diego by default. It was San Diego by default. Do I regret my decision? Not at all. Not at all. And, but now what I'm primarily interested in is producing the highest quality product that I can, and because at least half of my patients now are medical, glioblastomas, MS, a lot of these people who are receiving cancer chemotherapeutic agents are immune suppressed. So the product I produce has to be pharmaceutical grade. And I was in pharmaceutical research, and I know what that means. And so the grow system I use is completely enclosed. Nothing comes in from outside. All the cloning is sequential cloning from the previous crop. We go through a sterilization procedure every 3 months in that grow room that is probably overkill. But and I'm very into numbers. I ran a toxicology lab. I did GC mass spec. So when I send my work out to a lab, and I use a lab in San Francisco because it's overseen by a PhD analytical chemist. He doesn't mind talking to me on the phone. They have done work for me for free. When we were working on the medication for the guy with Huntington's disease, I needed to do what's called a kinetic study. And I could do it here in my kitchen, but I couldn't do the analysis. The analysis for the sample set we were sending out was in excess of $800. And when they found out why I was doing it, they waived that. They waived it. They did it for free.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah. Met some nice people in the business.
Would you want to mention them?
Yes, Anresco Labs in San Francisco. I highly recommend Anresco Labs.